So a brawl broke out at 2 a.m. on a Carnival Cruise Line ship over some chicken tenders.
Can we call it Carnival?
Carnival?
Carnival.
So Amy, go ahead and let's hear what happened. We're going to discuss it and give our insight.
Quick summary, if you have not seen the video yet, it's great watching. I highly suggest you check it out, but if you need to be filled in, basically what happened was there was a chaotic brawl that broke out aboard the Carnival Sunshine. It was around 2 a.m. and it was at the buffet line, apparently over some chicken tendies, which, you know what? If you're gonna have a brawl, it might as well be over chicken tendies, right?
That does make sense.
It was roughly 20 to 24 passengers. Honestly, the video makes it look like it was more than that. Like, it looked very chaotic. It was younger adults, and the melee quickly escalated to physical violence. There was like some punches thrown, headlocks, etc., etc. It got pretty crazy. People thrown to the floor, etc. Security personnel intervened eventually, though one officer was seemed overwhelmed and calling for backup, while while bystanders were obviously just TikToking and recording the frenzy. Videos of the incident went viral on social media, capturing the shocked reactions and raising concerns about onboard behavior management. Carnival's response, they haven't. No response yet from Carnival. So we're going to be talking about it.
All right. So one of the things, we've been on a lot of cruises. I've been on pretty much every cruise line there is: Celebrity, Royal Caribbean, Virgin, etc., etc. And I've seen on my most recent Royal Caribbean cruise, which was a nice ship, but when you get to 2 in the morning, the clubs are emptying out. Even 10 o'clock at night, people have been partaking of the all-you-can-drink packages.
Yeah.
They've been out partying, they're tired, they get hungry, the buffet gets picked over, and I've noticed a lot of bad behavior by passengers in the buffet, and I imagine chicken tenders are always a premium. They put out one basket of chicken tenders, everybody runs to them because chicken tenders are amazing, and when they're gone, they're gone. There's a finite supply of chickens at sea. So the chicken of the sea is a real consideration here.
So here's the thing. I think we saw a little bit of it wasn't anything even close to this, but on one of our last cruises out of Tampa obviously is a smaller port, smaller ships, less expensive cruises, a little bit more riffraff.
Was that out of Tampa? I thought it was out of Miami that we saw this.
Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, with our friends.
Oh, that is right.
Yeah.
It was.
And anyway, that incident really just left me, I felt so bad for the crew members, because the crew members that were kind of supposed to like quell this feisty argument and things that were just making people feel really uncomfortable. It was like this guy that I actually met, he was like my waiter. He's from Indonesia. He's 120 pounds. He's a waiter. He's not supposed to...
He's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
He's not a big guy.
And then, like, he's not supposed to, like, he's just like, no, I'm just supposed to clean up your plates. I am not supposed to get punched in the face from people that are acting up. Cruises need to step up their security. I think that is a real issue. And if you don't have rules and you're not, if you're just allowing people to break the rules, and I think Carnival has been doing that for a long time, you can really get in trouble and you can create a really dangerous environment. And that, I think, is solely on Carnival. And no amount of, I know that I've seen in the news recently for kind of being like, we're going to ban rap music. Like, no, rap music is not the problem. Twerking, being like, no, you can't twerk. No, that's not the problem. The problem is you guys don't have security and you've been allowing really, really big rule violations to go on for years just so you can make money without backing that up with security. And now your passengers are in danger, basically.
So you're saying that Carnival's at fault because they don't have the security to manage when there is an incident. So my question to you is, are the ships just inherently too big? If you think about it, a ship like Symphony of the Seas, you might have 4,000 or 5,000 people on a cruise ship. If it was an equivalent city, you would have a fire department, you would have a police department, they would have a SWAT team and an anti-terrorist team, and they would have a significant budget. Not to say that Carnival or Royal Caribbean don't have some security and they don't have fire measures in place. But if you get a city, a floating city in a small finite area with 5,000 people, the chances of something going drastically wrong increase more and more. And when they go wrong, the issues can be catastrophic. Yes. So at what point does a ship get too big to not have a full police department, not to have investigations, not to have a crime scene investigation unit that's looking at DNA? Because now, as we saw with previous video, Amy Bradley, this girl goes missing. The cruise ship doesn't have a DNA expert on hand. Mm-hmm. But if it was a city of 5,000 people, they would have all the resources they need. You're out at sea at a place that can have storms or pirates or fires or a brawl breaks out.
Or and plumbing issues.
You can't have, that happened recently as well as we've documented. You can't handle all of those issues with a finite waiter staff that have extra duty security.
Exactly.
How big is too big? At some point, do they call it off and say you can't go any bigger with these mega ships and resorts?
I don't even know if it's a number of how big is too big, and maybe it's just a ratio. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes I feel like, I personally, when I've taken Royal Caribbean's larger ships, mm-hmm. I felt a lot safer and more secure, and like there were amazing staff and more of that concierge service. At mm-hmm. least that was my perception. Then sometimes on the smaller ships, where I feel like, I don't know exactly what the ratio is, but it's like if you have like 2,800 people, but you only have 300 staff versus you have 5,000 people and you have 1,000 staff, mm-hmm. maybe it's more of a ratio of...
Or a high ratio of security.
Right, yeah.
So here's the thing. On a large cruise ship, every cruise ship has a morgue.
Yeah.
Because statistically, you put 4,000, 2,000, whatever the number is, you put a bunch of people together partying for the week, some of them aren't going to make it back. Some of them are just going to have heart issues, some of them are going to have food poisoning, some are going to have the flu, and they're 90 years old when they went into this ship, they stressed out their heart, they didn't come back. Yeah. So every cruise ship has a morgue because they know that's going to happen. And at some point, because of the law of numbers, mm-hmm. there's going to be more potential for a mass shooting or a big brawl like this brawl or whatever it may be. And I tend to think at some point they have to say, no, you can't have ships that big because unless you legitimately have a full-fledged police department, unless you have a full forensic team, unless you have all the things you need in a city. And at that point, it becomes price prohibitive.
Yeah.
These cruise ships are in it to make money. They're trying to get people who are paying $70 a day to where they turn a profit off this. Yeah. And having a full police team isn't going to be able to allow them to offer their ship prices at $70 a day or whatever the break-even cost is. It's just not going to happen. So I feel like there's a limitation on how big a ship needs to be, and they're going to keep pushing those limits until something goes drastically awry.
I think we are pushing the limits of that. We're seeing it more and more, and I think, the videos that I've seen from Carnival, I don't think I ever wanted to necessarily go on a Carnival cruise, but I definitely would not after seeing the things that I've seen on social media, because I just don't feel like it's safe. And I do think that that's on Carnival 1,000,000%, and that does, it's really disappointing, I think, because I think they could do a good job, and I think for too long they were greedy and they were willing to accept money from people that wanted to break the rules. And I think, I'm going to sound like an old fuddy-duddy right here, but look, I don't care what you do in your personal life, but if you're willing to break international law and bring a substance that you know you're not supposed to bring, and maybe you think oh, it's no big deal, it's legal in my state, it's fine, but if you are willing to break international law and you're willing to bring that to ports all across and you're doing all this other stuff, chances are you're the type of person that's going to break a lot of other rules.
Get into a fight at the buffet.
And Carnival literally catered to that for years and years and years because they turned a blind eye and they became known as the cruise line. In my opinion, that was
cool with
cool with just being no, it's cool. We don't really check. It's fine.
Well, they've had to change those rules recently.
And I hope that will help. But it's unfortunate for the other people that maybe, you're looking for a low-cost vacation for you and your family, and you saw this great cruise and you think like this is going to be awesome, and then you get on there and you feel like, I wouldn't want my kids around that, like obviously that seems really, really unsafe. And I don't think the answers are what Carnival has come out with, just being like, you can't twerk. Because also I'm just like, no.
You also can't have fans.
I'm not going on a cruise line that's policing how I dance at the club. Like, no, that's crazy. I'm an adult, like paying money. Like, that's not the answer. The answer is having actual rules for actual things that are wrong and actual security. And they haven't, I don't think, had that response so far. I think their response has almost been, elephant in the room, kind of racially veiled and kind of been like targeted in a way that's just like, no, that's not fair. Twerking, that's not causing these issues. Fans are not causing these issues. Rap music, no, not the issue. I've been on plenty of cruises, and most of the time in the nightclubs they play rap music, and I've never seen anything even close to what's going on in Carnival. So what you guys have a problem with is entirely different from what you made rules for, and
so to clarify, do you believe that the new rules, no fans, no twerking, no rap music, are those racially motivated? Or are they racist rules?
I would say some of the rules that I read make perfect sense, of course. Like,
they also started sniffing for illegal substances. They started inspecting bags more.
I think that was necessary. I think the rules of like, no, you can't have unaccompanied minors just going around the ship past, I think the curfew was like 1 a.m. or something. It was pretty lenient, for a 16,
1 a.m.
17,
is when unaccompanied minor has to be in the room.
I think those
is the new rule.
I think those make total sense. I think reaching so far to being like, you can't twerk, you can't have a fan, you can't listen to hip hop. I think maybe that's a little bit too much, and maybe those are racially charged and not appropriate.
No,
especially when I would just like to see like, how much are you guys backing that up with increased security and all the things that you need to be doing to make sure that these incidents don't happen in the first place?
No, I think it's an overstatement to say there's no hip hop. I think they've limited some of the hip hop and the specific songs from the playlist at the pool. Honestly, I'm a different cat, because I wouldn't even notice if the entire cruise didn't have music. I would be completely fine with that. It'd be quieter. I might be able to sleep a little better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even notice if there was never music. In fact, I'd prefer it because I take a lot of video, and there's always copyright issues when there's somebody playing music in the background.
You're always just thinking about YouTube rules.
Thinking about MeToo.
YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, so I would be perfectly fine with no music. I'm a different cat. I'm not the general public, and I'm not the person they're trying to appeal to. Now, with that being said, Carnival Cruise Line, we've learned over the years that songs cause people to act certain ways. We saw that at Woodstock with Limp Bizkit when they played Break Something.
Yeah,
everybody broke everything. When they play Light My Fire, they started burning stuff. We've learned that you can't have certain things. If you play a big butt song, everybody's going to be shaking their butt. And as much as I like butts, and I truly like butts, so I may miss the big butt songs.
Why would we ban that? That's crazy.
And I think what really happened is Carnival decided they needed to upgrade their fleet. And they needed to charge more to do that. And in doing so, they've launched some mega ships. They've put some money into those ships.
They've got their new islands.
And they realize they can't upset the passenger who's like, I want to bring my entire family. They want to get some of the Disney money.
Yeah.
I want to bring my entire family, and I don't feel comfortable if everybody is twerking and grinding. And I think the fans actually became a public safety issue because people were fighting over the clapping of the fans, hitting people in the head in a nightclub at night, and it was kind of loud and annoying. And it was just a weird, trendy thing. So I'm perfectly fine with them saying, you know what? Literally, when you TikTok and YouTube reel through videos, they're making fun of Carnival ships, just the behavior of everybody just twerking and people not loving it. And that brings your brand down. That brings your sale price down.
It does.
That brings your prestige down.
Yeah.
People aren't going to pay as much for that. So if you can simply say, you know what? We're not going to have to back that ass up.
on the cruise ship.
As our sail away party. It was really
Yeah.
the sail away party no longer has twerking contest. They literally, that was the bit. They had a twerking contest, and it was on the sail away party. It was becoming more and more common. It was becoming popular, and it just wound up being bigger and bigger women. And then everybody joined in, and it started to look trashy, and people were complaining and saying, you know what? That's fun and all, but I'm not bringing grandma, grandpa, and the kids here. And when you start losing passengers at the expense of a little bit of fun, they said, you know what? We have to fill a 7,000 person ship now. We can get rid of the twerking contest at the sail away party. We don't need that. Because if that contest is costing you 20% or 5% of your passengers, and you go, oh no, that's a lot of money of people going over to Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Viking, and Disney.
You know, I still wish that Carnival had...
It's about money.
I wish that Carnival had treated their passengers like adults and just been like, you know what? Like, we're going to have rules. We're going to have whatever. Maybe you don't make a big deal about...
They said we're going to have rules.
No, I think having a rule against twerking is a little bit extreme, in my opinion. I don't think, like, Virgin doesn't have a rule against twerking. I've definitely twerked at their sail away party.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing. And
you know what they don't have?
But it's not an issue. They don't have children.
They don't have children. They are
so
specifically a ship for adults.
Yeah.
And if you're trying, like, Carnival's new ship has a water park for kids.
Yeah.
Royal Caribbean's new ship has a water park, the largest water park at sea. And if you're trying to attract children, maybe grandma in a thong twerking to win a contest to sail away from Miami isn't the way to attract people to your new water park that you spent, like, how much did they spend on the new island?
Oh man, a couple billion.
It was I think it was in the B's. It might have been 500 million, but it was,
a lot.
They built a new island.
Celebration
Key. They got to fill that thing.
Yeah.
And having a sail away party of a twerk contest was becoming this is the Kmart of the Sea.
Yeah, so I get that.
Kmart of the Sea, new ship idea.
But I still feel like, you know what, in the nightclub for adults, you should be able to do what you want to do. You should be able to listen to the type of music that you want to listen to in those aspects of the ship that are, you know, like for adults. I think that you can find a better balance, and you can, you know, I still put a little bit of the onus on Carnival themselves, because they clearly let this demographic of just, and I don't mean that in a, like...
What do you mean, this demographic?
No, I know, exactly. As soon as I said that, I was like, oh, that's not what I meant. What I mean is, you let people that were okay with breaking the rules, that were okay with making people feel unsafe, that were okay with being way too rowdy for way too long, and coming out with a few rules about being like, oh, you can't twerk, oh, you can't listen to rap music, is putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. And they need to, like I said, actually have better security, and not just the guy from Indonesia at the buffet that should be in charge of quelling chicken tendy brawls. You know, they should have done a better job. So we kind of got derailed there, but I think my biggest point is that Carnival can't really stand behind that they're just, you know, have these issues because they're a low-cost cruise line. MSC is also a low-cost cruise line, and I've never heard anything coming out of them. I haven't heard about any issues. I think it comes down to that Carnival has had really lax rules for a long time, and they haven't taken care of their passengers how maybe they should have. And starting now with almost saying, like, no twerking, no hip-hop, I think is, like I said, putting a little Band-Aid on something that's much bigger. And that really comes down to, like, I don't think people are mad at twerking. They're not mad at rap music. They're mad at all of the brawls that are breaking out, which this is not the first incident, even this year. There's been at least 4 other actual full-fledged, like 20-person plus fights, including throwing lounge chairs, etc., etc. on different Carnival ships just in 2025. This is not an isolated incident. This is going on and on and on and on and on, and just coming out and saying like, okay, we're getting rid of rap music is like, no, you need security. Duh. Like, you need security, not just like the guy from Bali at the buffet being like...
She got against Bali.
Nothing.
She is ruffling some feathers. We have all of Malaysia, Bali, and pretty much anyone who likes twerking upset with you right now.
I hope so. And I'm trying to defend my friends from Indonesia and Malaysia that they shouldn't also be playing Cop of the Sea. That's not fair. Carnival should be paying for that and not expecting just to get profits for their shareholders and their new islands and their bigger ships. They need to be reinvesting. Otherwise, it's just going to be unsafe for their passengers. And it's really, really unfair, especially considering that children are allowed on these ships. Could you imagine your 2-year-old involved in a brawl? No.
What was it, 2 a.m. at least? They're brawling at the right time. Folks, before I give my 2 cents on what Carnival needs to do, please click that subscribe button. We should have said that earlier. Click the bell for all notifications. Even turn on all notifications from YouTube so it actually comes into your inbox and not just onto your YouTube account. And we would appreciate that.
If you want to fight with me in the comments, I would also appreciate that.
We welcome that. The more comments, the better.
Be nice.
Yeah, be nice. Even if you watch this far, please leave a comment. It does help the algorithm. It helps us. Those likes and subscribes mean a lot to us as we grow this channel. We've rebuilt our travel channel, and this is a fun venue for us. So join us with it. Click that subscribe button. Now, my 2 cents?
Yeah, what are you doing?
They need to get rid of, some people are going to hate this, the all-you-can-drink package.
Yes.
To justify all you can drink, because the actual price when it comes down to it, when you figure in both people in a cabin need to have it, it's like $200 a day. So to be able to justify that, they have to say, okay, well, drinks are $12 each, and you're going to drink so many a day, so this saves you money.
It's like 9
Convenience and saves you money.
Yeah.
That gets ugly because nobody should be a week at sea with a sea balcony, drinking 10 drinks a day, 20 drinks a day. We've seen a lot of YouTubers test this, being like, can I do 20 drinks a day on the package and make it to where it's only $4 a drink, or whatever the numbers would work out to. That's not safe. And it's not safe for the other customers at sea when people who have been drinking in the sun all day come back to the buffet and can't find chicken tenders, can't find what they want, are agitated for whatever reason. That's why this is happening. This is a money grab. Having a reasonable package price for 5 drinks a day, for 4 drinks a day, would make more sense to the customer, make more sense to other customer safety, and it's a better way to do things. Yeah, Virgin does have you have $500 in drink credit.
Yeah.
Use it sparingly. You'll be here for 5 days and drinks are $20 each. So for 5 days, you get 5 drinks a day. Folks, again, click that subscribe button. We'd love to hear your 2 cents on the
It's a good one.
Brawl of the Seas.
Carnival.
Carnival.
So I'm calling it Carnival.
Folks, we love and appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Adios, amigos.